Hi everyone, so today I'll be doing a review on the Kringle candle 14 ounce through a candle in the scent French Toast. The retail price of this candle is $24. However, I purchased this during a 3 for $33 sale, making this candle $11 plus shipping. The approximate burn time of this candle is 45 plus hours and my pour date is September 26, 2025. The scent description online reads French Toast celebrate the season with warm maple, melted butter, warm and inviting. Top, warm maple, mid, melted butter, vanilla, base, spun sugar. So right off the bat, the main note that I get is that heavy, predominant maple syrup and the smooth butter for sure. The vanilla and the spun sugar are less prevalent just because that maple syrup plus butter combo is just dominating the fragrance notes. I think that if you don't like syrup, this would definitely not be for you. I think even if you like syrup fragrances, it's almost like a single fragrance note. There's not much else to it. And also another thing about the syrup note, I almost detect this like boozy aspect that I can also pick up in some honey scents or candles that have honey listed in the fragrance notes. And I have a feeling that this syrup note, it reminds me when some maple syrups, they're either not stored properly or they start fermenting and they take on this slight alcoholic like tinge to it. It almost reminds me a little bit of like when you smell vodka or when you inhale vodka and it goes straight up into your nose. That's what I get more on cold than while burning, but I just want to mention that. Again, I barely get any of the sugar and it's sweet, but not sweeter than the syrup already is. So for example, there's some candy-like scents that you're like, ooh, this is going to be cloying. This one is very syrupy, but there's no added like spun sugar or like granulated sugar to this, at least not to my nose. I kind of skipped over this part, but I do enjoy the colored wax of this candle and I like that it matches the label. I don't necessarily like that it's just a stick-on label. I can always turn it around, but I do like that it matches with the picture. However, one thing about the picture is that I do not detect French toast. And you know, this candle is called French toast and I don't get that at all. I just get the syrup that you would maybe put on a French toast. It's not high fructose corn syrup. It's not a simple syrup. You definitely get the maple. But at the same time, when I smelled this and while I'm burning, I'm kind of like, where's the bread? Heck, I don't even get a carb note. Granted, one isn't listed. You just get the maple butter fragrance. I don't think I get the vanilla extract that you would find when you make a French toast. So at least when I make a French toast, I use eggs, which I don't detect, milk at times, and then you slather that on the whatever type of bread you want. And the bread is completely missing in this equation. So if you're looking for a realistic French toast candle, this is basically just like a maple butter fragrance. I know Goose Creek has a candle. I want to say it's called maple butter. So this would be a nice soy alternative. And again, you might be disappointed if you wanted a realistic French toast because there's no bread note at all. Good thing, strength on cold, I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. For the first burn, I did trim my wicks because these are very long wicks and I did trim them after each subsequent burn. However, once I reached the midway mark, I have been a little bit more on the conservative side because I've noticed with some of these limited edition 3 wicks is that my flames get not super puny, but they get very low. But anyways, back to the first burn. It did pull out within 45 minutes. And at first I couldn't really smell it. After 1 hour, I found that it wasn't terribly strong early on, more like a 6 out of 10. However, it did increase even the projection as well to an 8 out of 10 after 2 hours. And then the strength also went up to maybe like a 7 or a 7.5. Let me go ahead, show you the overhead view and how it currently looks like right now. So here's an overhead view of my candle. Currently, I've had this burning for about 3 hours and I will extinguish my flames in about 30 minutes or so. If you can see, I have a very deep wax pool. I do have some wick fallout, and that's partly because I've been pretty conservative with my wick trimming, especially when I got to about the halfway mark, because I've experienced that with 2 of my other candles from the limited edition 3 wick drop. that my wick started to get puny a little bit below the halfway mark. So in order to combat that, I've been leaving my wicks a little bit longer than usual, and I think that is affecting the flame size. So they might have been a bit more on the medium side, but right now they're medium strong because, again, I've been more conservative. I do have some wick fallout or mushroom fallout, and I think that's because I'm not trimming my wicks as much. However, I noticed no instances of sooting or no visible soot emitting from the candle. My wax pool isn't getting discolored, but I think even if it were getting discolored, the color of the wax is a good, I guess, way to camouflage it because it's a darker color. Anyways, no drifting wicks and no other issues with my candle as of right now. The overall strength while burning does hover around a 7 out of 10, and this is having it lit in my medium-sized bedroom, not in a hurricane. And I would say that there are certain pockets in my room where the scent isn't super concentrated. So I would say that while this scent is like a 7 out of 10, in certain pockets in my room, it would lean more towards a 6 out of 10. Typically, I can always smell this. However, even though it is sweet, I feel like it doesn't give me a headache. It's very basic, so I think you might find this a little bit too simple depending on your preferences. So I would maybe mix this with another scent, especially if you want a French toast scent, because all I'm getting again is the maple syrup and I am getting the melted butter. So pretty simple, a bit disappointing if you wanted French toast. So I would maybe suggest mixing it with, let's say for Bath and Body Works, like French baguette or maybe like a cinnamon roll type scent. That's not coming to mind right now. Projection is really great, especially once you hit the 2-hour mark. I would say it's a good 8 out of 10. It passes by my closed concept bedroom and it travels to the hallway. And it's more consistent. I find the projection once I hit the 50% mark. As far as how long this candle lingers in the air in my medium-sized bedroom when I have my door open, I'd give it a solid 30 minutes or so. So even though I feel like this scent should be a little bit more intense, it doesn't like permeate my clothes. If I have it burning where I'm at and then I go somewhere, you know, I'm not smelling like maple butter, surprisingly, which I feel like some people have noted that to be the case with the Goose Creek candle that I feel like this slightly resembles. Overall, I feel like French toast is a good, simple candle. However, it doesn't live up to its name. I feel like this would have been better suited for a name like maple butter, perhaps, because I'm not getting any bread note. Granted, it's not listed in the fragrance notes. So this is a very simple scent. If you love syrupy fragrances, this is a good one. Again, not French toast. So well, I guess it would be French toast if you're just, you know, focusing on the syrup aspect and the butter aspect. No bread at all whatsoever. So you would have to blend it with another fragrance in order to get that realistic French toast. But I feel like this is decently strong. I personally would maybe mix this with a hot cocoa and cream or like another fragrance that I feel like needs a little bit more sweetness. Here's how it currently looks like. Let me go ahead and show you how my wax pool is looking. Again, my flames are a little bit on the medium stronger side because I've had this burning for about 3 hours and I am being very conservative with trimming my wicks because, again, I've had other candles from this collection that they've just gotten puny wicks and I've had to soak up some wax. So here it is, no real cling on. Again, overall, it's a very nice scent. I feel like I do pick up on this slightly boozy nuance. It's maybe better described as a fermented smell, like when some maple syrup ferments a little bit too much, but normally that happens when it goes off or you store it incorrectly. Thankfully, this doesn't smell like simple corn syrup to me. I do smell the maple, I do smell the butter, but this is definitely not French toast, not to my nose. There's no carb notes listed, which thinking back, I maybe should have like realized that given the fragrance notes, but I thought that maybe one, a bread note was maybe not listed, but it was present. So yeah, a bit disappointing if you want, you know, what the picture is depicting. But if you're looking for, let's say, a good maple butter scent, If you love syrupy fragrances, this would definitely be the one for you, or heck, even if you're looking for a good blender scent. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you have a great day. Okay, bye.